Hello team, today's challenge is smallest gap, where we're given a string and we need to find the smallest number of characters between two same characters. So in the case of A, B, C, D, A, C, we have A and A here, and there are three characters between that. But if we look further down, we will see that we have C and C, and there are only two characters there. So the correct answer is D and A. That's the two between the C, okay? And so on, etc. So for race car, we have the R and R, the A and A, the C and C. Obviously, the shortest gap is between the C and the C, so we get E. This big ugly one, Hello World, we might think that it is space W because of the two O's, but it's actually nothing between the two L's, right? And further down the line, Fox here is between two spaces. There is no face. There's no space at the start. So the is skipped, which is kind of weird, right? Technically, this is the shortest word along with this, but between two gaps, this is the first time we see that short number of characters. So the math works out, okay? Over to the code. We are here. We are going to create a variable called smallest, okay? And that smallest is going to be the string, but we are going to break that apart into an array, okay? From here, we are going to reduce it, okay? And we are going to get everything. So the accumulator, the current, the index, the array itself. We're going to use all of that. And right here, for the initial value, we have our first big question, okay? Our first big question is, if we are returning a string of however many characters long, then right here, what string do we start with, right? What should we start with? The string itself? Should we start with something else, right? In this case, I don't know, right? And because I don't know, it's kind of tricky. So my advice here is let's just start with string and see where we end up, okay? Because we're going to change this pretty quick. This is going to be fed in as accumulator, and as soon as we find a match, we're probably going to kick that back out. But let's actually do something different. I want to turn this to null, just so that we can be fully versed on what we're doing here. Okay. So null there. If this is null, then maybe we return string down here. But we want to test against null. That way it gives us the opportunity to return our own custom message or throw an error, right? So null is probably the right one, but getting into this function, okay, this callback function, we are going to do stuff in here. For this, we're going to create another variable. This is going to be next index, which should tell you exactly what we're doing here, okay? We're going to get, we have the index of the current value. We want this current value, but we want the next index of it if it exists. That's very important. We're going to have to test if we actually found something. But right here, we can take the array and index of current. So we're looking for that same character, but we don't want to start at the beginning. We want to start at index plus 1. Okay, so wherever we are, we advance it by 1. And we start searching from there, okay? Now, because of that, we need to test, okay? We need to test if next index is greater than -1, because if we don't find anything, then it does return -1, okay? So greater than -1 means that we have found an index. We're gonna use that, okay? If there is nothing found, right, then we just return the accumulator. We should always return something. So accumulator down here, getting that out of the way. We aren't there yet. We need to finish this if statement, okay? So right there, now next index, okay? Next index minus index will give us the distance between those two indexes. But if we're looking at this, okay, let's go back to the C's in A, B, C, D, A, C, okay? This is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 minus 2 is 3, but we only want 2, right? We want the 2 in between. 5 minus 2 includes either this c or this c, depending on how you work that math in your head, okay? Which means that we need to subtract 1 more, so minus 1, okay? This needs to be less than what? Well, it needs to be less than the accumulator dot length, which leads to our next problem, because we've set this to null, right? We've set it to null, which means null never has a length. It just doesn't. We need to test to make sure that accumulator is not null before we test for length. The easiest way to do that is to put a question mark right here, jump into the end, double question mark, infinity. Okay, so if it is null, then we are going to return something else. Okay, sorry, if it's null, then we return infinity. If it's not, it should have a length, and that length needs to be something. Okay, so we're going to test against that. Hopefully that's making sense, because right here we are doing our final return for this section, and that's going to be the string slice. Okay, we're slicing on the string here because if we slice on the array, we need to join it up for our final result, and joining it is a performance hit. It will actually cut the performance of this in half, and I don't like that, so I'm just going to use that string directly. If we wanted to extract this callback function to its own thing, then we could bind string into it and it would still work. Okay, I'm not going to do that today, but it's an option. Okay, we start at index plus 1. Okay, this is our starting index, so we're going to include not the current index, not the current value, but the one directly after it. And then we go to next, spelling it right, next, index, perfect. Because remember that slice, it starts and includes this, this value and ends just before this value. It does not include whatever this index is, okay? At this point, it works, and it works great, okay? Again, we've left it flexible enough that we could throw an error in here or return a different sort of string. We have those options. In fact, we could just get rid of all of this bit completely and just return null if that's what we wanted, right? It still works. It still gets the job done. But I'm going to leave it there for now, and this is my solution for today. Now, quick call out before we wrap it up is that if you wanted something to be as fast as possible, or at least faster than this, if you wanted something to be more performant, then instead of a reduce, I would recommend using a standard loop. Okay, standard loop will be way faster than this, I think 4 or 5 times faster, so much faster. But I like this solution, and I wanted to be able to teach some of these options. Honestly, most of the stuff inside of this callback will fit into that loop as well. You'll have to change the returns into assignments, but the rest of it just works. Okay. Again, not every solution, just one good solution. And hopefully that's what you've seen here today. If you don't think that, if you think it was a crummy solution, let me know in the comments. If you found a different solution that you want to share, also share that. Okay. Let me know what you think of what you've seen today. And beyond that, this has been Smallest Gap, and I will see you tomorrow.